All right. I call the meeting of September 6, 2022 to order at 6 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so today we have City Attorney Andrea Marquez filling in for Michelle. So Andrea, would you like to call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Botetto. Here. Brown. Cole.
Here.
Hochstetter.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Thank you. Everybody's here. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Would the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the meeting minutes from the August 15th, 2022 regular council meeting, the August 22nd study session, and the special study session of August 29th, 2022. Item 2, finance specialist compensation approval. Item 3, Siebenthaler Park, Phase 1 Spray Park, 2023-2024 biennial budget reserve. Item 4, Bennett Property, acquisition and Phase 1 development, 2023-2024 biennial budget reserve. Item 5, approval of electronic checks and payments in the amount of $1,786,212.12.
Thank you. Do I have a motion from Deputy Mayor Hochstetter? Yeah.
I make the motion to adopt the consent agenda as read.
Do I have a second? Seconded
Second.
by Councilmember Reed. All in favor? Did anybody want to remove something? I'm a little late on that, but seeing none, all in favor was good. All right. Unfinished business, here we go. Ordinance number 2832, Houston Road annexation approval. Deputy Mayor Hochstetter, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move the council approve ordinance number 2832, Houston Road annexation.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Newman. I will call on Senior Planner Ann Siegenthaler.
Thank you, Mayor Hayden, and good evening, council members. I just have a few slides to share with you tonight, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. So the council has seen this proposal a number of times before. Tonight, we're asking the city council to approve the ordinance approving the Houston Road annexation. And just as a refresher, the location that we're referring to, called the Houston Road annexation, is mostly along the west side of the river. This is the old cannery. This is Houston Road. This is generally we call it the Wayne's Roofing site. Wayne's Roofing is here, and there's some other businesses here. This is the Snyder Petroleum site. And the area proposed to be annexed also includes 4 parcels east of the river. These are 2 residential parcels, and these are 2 city trail parcels. It's a total of approximately 12.67 acres for about with 18 parcels in it. Once the area becomes annexed, it will no longer be subject to county codes. It will become subject to all of our Sumner Municipal Code, and it will be zoned according to Sumner zoning code. And that zoning is going to become the same as its current comprehensive plan designation. So again, this area west of the river will become industrial, light industrial zoning. This area will have a general commercial zoning, and the area east of the river will have a town center zoning. Services upon annexation will all be covered by the city of Sumner, and other districts will also provide services such as fire, school, and library districts will be providing those services. And just as a summary, this proposal has been through all of the required state mandated processes and all of the city council required reviews, including a public hearing on August 1st. And tonight we're asking the council for approval of the proposal. And if the council does approve the annexation, then next we will submit a notice of intent to the County Boundary Review Board. And they have the final say in the proposed annexation. And that process takes generally, I understand, from 45 to 120 days. So thank you, and I'll take any questions if there are any.
Anybody have any questions for Ann? Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. And when we had the public hearing on this, a representative from the old Cannery Furniture Store mentioned about that this would allow all of their property to be in the city limits. Can you on that map show what part? I was confused by that. So can you show on that map where that property is that's owned by the old cannery?
Yes. I think I'll go back up to, these are properties owned by the old cannery. There are some joint ownerships in this area. I believe these are the properties owned by the old cannery. This one perhaps as well. These are not owned by Old Cannery. These are some single family residential properties and Snyder Petroleum, and these are under different ownership. And I believe this area here is the Wayne's Roofing ownership. Is that what you were looking for, Councilman?
Exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Andrea, can you call the roll?
Stewart,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Botetto.
Yes.
Passes unanimous. All right. Okay, now we are moving on to public comment. The public was encouraged to submit their comments to the city clerk by email before tonight's meeting, so the clerk may read those emails to the record. Did we get any mail, Henry?
No, Mayor, we did not.
No, okay. So does any public listening or watching have any comments they would like to make regarding items not on the agenda? Use your raise your hand feature. If you are participating by telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And this is for people that are not. Okay. Seeing none. There we go. All right, so next item would be Bus Up Master Services Agreement, MIC Transit. Councilmember Newman, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we vote and approve the Bus Up proposal in front of us.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Councilmember Reed. I call on Deputy or Community Development Director Ryan Windisch.
Am I live? Good evening, council and mayor. Thank you for having me here tonight. The item before you is the approval of a service agreement with Bus Up and Bus Up Incorporated to operate and manage a micro transit system that would serve the city of Sumner Manufacturing and Industrial Center and the employees in the area. The employers or the employees will pay the fare for the riding the transit, and it would offset the city's costs. The fee for the initial 6-month pilot project will be $60,000. That's $10,000 per month, and the following 6 months will be for $82,500 or $13,750 per month. And the city will monitor this pilot project and see if it's going to be successful or not, and terminate the service if the ridership is insufficient. And Mayor, if it would be okay, I had a really brief presentation that I wanted to give.
Sure.
So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So the shared shuttle service, we are actively at this time working with Bus Up, reaching out to corporations in our manufacturing industrial center and letting them know that this service is likely to come online and seeing if they're interested, and they are. And as I mentioned earlier, the city's obviously providing funding, would be providing funding for the service, but the employees, the employers would be paying to ride. And one of the things that employers of over 100 employees are required to participate in and offer a commute trip reduction program at like $280 a month for their employees to seek options such as transit. And this is one of those options that would be eligible for that. So I wanted to give a little summary of the service and some of the objectives for the shared shuttle service. And one is ultimately, if the city were able to pursue in conjunction with East Pierce County jurisdictions, if we were to pursue being put back into the Pierce Transit District, the data that could be obtained from a transit system like this could be beneficial in that regard. It would also create more equitable career access for employees out there that do not have this transit option. It would also provide an opportunity for businesses to help with recruitment and retention of employees, those who don't have cars and would be seeking a transit option. And the route would generally follow this diagram here. It would go from the Sumner Station up through Central Valley and come back on the West Valley Highway or vice versa. It would initially be a 12-passenger vehicle running AM and PM, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening, and loop about every 30 minutes. And sorry about the flipping around here. I'm used to PowerPoint and this is not it. And we are, as I mentioned, reaching out to corporations in the North End. And the idea is that we'd engage the employers. They would contract to ride the service. Training would be provided for employees, and really to make this successful and make people who might otherwise be apprehensive to be part of it to hopefully jump on board and take advantage of this service. We have a number of employees that either bike or walk to their place of employment, and this would help solve that problem. And as I mentioned, we've had initial meetings with Amazon, which is a very large employer in the North End, and REI, and interest from a number of different employers out there. The fare to ride would be $6 or $8 per ride, and that's both going and coming. So, the employers only pay based on what they ride. Oops. My apologies again. So the initial pilot is for the first 6 months at $10,000 a month. And as I said, the fares that are paid into the system would go to offset the next month's costs. And so even kind of worst case scenario with really low ridership, likely you're going to have, 70% of the city funds would be still in the service and 30% of it would be paid by the fares. And then the next 6 months, $13,750 per vehicle per month. Again, the fares would offset the costs. And this would give us the data, the understanding of kind of how is the system going to work? Is it something we want to continue? One of the things there's a couple other things I want to point out. One is, while the businesses don't vote, so to speak, they do pay taxes in the North End. They supply a huge part of our assessed value, as you're all aware. And so this is a service that we're looking at for people who work in the community and for businesses that pay taxes in the community. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is, while any one of these businesses could say, hey, we want to do a shuttle program, it's kind of, it's an economies of scale for the city to kind of take the lead on this and organize it for a number of different employers. Because one employer may not choose to do it. And this allows for not just the larger employers like Amazon and REI to be part of it. It allows for other smaller employers who may not have the capabilities or the funding to do that, to actually literally get on the shuttle, get on the bus. And so that's the other benefit of the city taking the lead on this. So if all goes according to plan, we would sign the contract and continue to move through this month with our outreach and ideally be launching the service the very first part of October. And so thank you. Just wanted to provide that kind of a summary of what we're looking at. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Ryan? Councilmember Hochstetter.
Yes, Mr. Windisch, you have the start date of October 1st, but do you have any firm commitments from any other larger employers out there yet?
We don't have anybody signed on the line yet, but we definitely have interest from Amazon, REI, and are planning on doing some follow-up meetings. We've asked for, from REI in particular, zip codes for their employees to see kind of who's commuting from where, to see who might take advantage of it. REI is very interested. In fact, they said they may look at even adjusting their start times, their shift start times, in order to better align with the transit service.
Can they get their ducks in a row to begin by, have their people ready and their employees by October 1st, or could you delay this start time down the road a little bit, or?
I mean, if we have to delay the start time, we can. I think we are pushing hard to try to get things lined up so the bus is available. But we don't have any hard commitments or people signed on the line yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Botetto. You have to push a button.
Scroll down. Yeah. How do you collect the money? Is it, I know, would it be monthly? And then is the employer the one responsible for keeping track, or is it the bus company that keeps track of, who rides and then which company they're working for? Because that could be, the logistics could be challenging.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Botetto. The Bus Up has a proprietary software you have on your phone for reserving a spot on the bus, for paying your fare, and it tracks back to the specific employer that you're employed with. And so they're keeping track of all that data and the finances on their end through their mobile app and their database.
I don't know. Push your button. See if it works. You're not on.
Okay. So
Technology.
it sounds that since it's all electronic payments, then there wouldn't be a lag time, for collecting the money, for the city to collect the money. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Ryan?
Yes, I have one. So the contract says that that BusApp will assist in developing, managing, and administering the program. Who in the city will be responsible for the program?
That'd be me. Yeah, I'm the one that would be the direct contact and responsible for the success or failure of the program as I work with BusUp.
Okay, and do you have an example of what those, exactly what you'd be doing as opposed to what BusApp will be doing? They just don't seem, well, it just doesn't, I don't feel like they'll be handling a lot of the day-to-day transactions.
The understanding with the contract is that they would be managing all the day-to-day operations and interactions with customers and the public. And I will assist in where I need to assist. I will help with them with outreach and marketing for sure, because I have some relationships with businesses that would be helpful in that regard. But the reason we're hiring them is because they're going to be working with the operators, making sure the shuttle's running on time. If there's a problem, they're the ones that are going to be assisting us by handling those problems instead of it coming directly to staff.
Okay, and assuming that we did start, say, October 1st, you said there are two employers, bigger employers who are interested, but how do you get the ridership, if no one has really actually signed on the dotted line?
Yeah, so we have to get employers to sign up or it's not going to work. And then we will have BusUp work with, they will show up on site for trainings on how to use the app and set up outreach in order to get people to be familiar with the system, know it's available. They're even committed to showing up at the train station, helping people get on the bus, make sure that it's going to work for them, because people, of course, want to be, it's a change and people need somebody to help them with the training and understanding how this is all going to work. And so they are committed to the outreach and the training and making all that happen.
Okay, and then just can you clarify for me, it's my assumption that the employer has to sign up in order for a passenger, an employee to actually ride. But what I thought I heard earlier was that there was a possibility that there's an option if you don't have an employer signed up that you can actually participate in this.
What I meant there
program?
was the employer has the option whether they pay the entire fare for the employee or a portion of it, or if they require the employee to pay the whole fare. But they would need to be signed up under a company.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Newman?
Thank you. Sort of piggybacking off of Councilmember Cole's question about whether there's business signups, but employees can opt to pay the full fare themselves. Like the sign up is the sign up simply like in order to get sort of basically for the employers to subsidize part of that fare?
Subsidize part of the fare and be on the kind of rider list for
The
stops.
route.
The route, yeah, for stops. And if it's, for example, if it's a small employer under 100 employees and they don't have, commute trip reduction dollars allocated to an employee, then they may say, hey, we can't afford to pay the fare, but it is available. We're happy to sign up. And the employee might be on the hook for the whole fare.
Is it your sense that this October 1st date would sort of be an incentive for some of the larger businesses interested to finally pull the trigger on a contract? Like make
Well,
it less abstract for something they're signing up for?
I mean, we've met with, like I said, Amazon and REI. We've laid out kind of the schedule. So I don't know, if your question is, does that kind of put some pressure on them to make decisions? I guess it would, if October 1st is what we're shooting for, which it is.
Okay, thank you for doing the work. I understand that it's really difficult. Like the MIC in Sumner is significant and large. I know that it's a big lift to see this come to its full potential, and part of that's probably going to depend on marketing by bus up and the companies who sign up. But it would be nice to see fewer cars on some of those high used routes where we're already struggling with cut through traffic, et cetera. But I think part of the reason why I'm excited about this is because that's an area where it's not necessarily like represented. It's not like chamber mission, a chamber of commerce mission to represent those types of larger businesses. I mean, they do at times, but they wouldn't necessarily be the catalyst, like the organization to try and take this on. Tacoma MIC has an organization that started representing businesses, but that is a very rare situation. And so it's just a really large business area without representation and basically without someone to herd cats or actually come up with some kind of operating function for all of the businesses that are used to operating independently of one another. Anyway, so I just thank you for taking this on. I'm excited to see how it turns out. And part of the reason why I can support this is because of, I think, some of the conditions that you had written in that allows sort of us to escape if it's not successful. Anyway, so thank you for working on this.
Councilmember Potato or Councilmember Stewart, how about that?
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, I appreciate the effort that you've put into this. I have a number of questions, having read the contract with a fine tooth comb and other things that have been raised that make me real nervous about this. And when you're talking about 6 or more employers supporting this, yet 2 have only committed. It all sounds like it would be workable, I guess. I'm not going to use the word good. What do you see as the downsides to this?
Councilmember Stewart, I think the downside to a pilot project would be that it fails. And we spend money and we experiment and we try something, because in a lot of ways, not unlike, when the private sector kind of puts something out there as a promotion and to see if it's going to take in the market, I think we're at a point where we've reached out to these businesses a few times for letters of support for grants, and they've been supportive of those, because we've reached out to them with van pool and van share options. For one reason or another, the red tape or whatever for those didn't work. So what we know is there's a need out there, but we really don't know what that need exactly is. And so as was pointed out by Councilmember Newman, the contract has a 6-month window, the first 6-month window, where if we get 0 riders and this just looks like we should not be doing this, we can pull out. And the second 6 months, same way. We can give this a year. My understanding is through working with Pierce Transit, a system like this, if you really want to get it promoted, get people comfortable with it, have them talk to their friends and other people and really have it grow, you really need a full 12 months. So the downside of this is we risk this, it doesn't work, and we have to pull back and look at other options. That's I guess failure is the main downside.
Okay, thank you. A couple other questions. Basically, there's a lot of questions in my mind, and maybe some of the other council members have questions that it just seems like it's too fast to me. October 1st is 3 weeks away, 3.5 weeks away. And I know there are some people curious about what is really in the city's best interest, what's in it for the city paying this, rather than it being in Amazon's interest or REI or even their employees. Granted, it's nice to have employees come to work in the MIC, and somebody pointed out that we do get property taxes from the MIC, but anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I appreciate the work you're doing on this. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Potato.
Can you talk more about the incentive, the $285 a month that or whatever the number was, but the employers that have over 100 employees, what is that and where do they get that money? Is that out of their pocket or is that a federal program?
REI, they're a employer. Sorry. Thank you. Employers of more than 100 employees are required to look at ways to reduce the trips and reduce the commute trips that their employees take. And there's a benefit that is offered. I mean, REI mentioned it for sure. It's a pre-tax benefit of $280 per month that they, as an employer, will pay towards transit service. So they'll pay for like an Orca card, transit card. They'll pay for van pools, van shares, that kind of thing. So this is money that they have budgeted, REI has budgeted, that they could spend towards the fare for their employees to ride. And I think it's similar with Amazon and other large employers have that option.
Well, I'm in favor of this because, I think how many thousands of employees are out in the MIC? And I just think that what we can do to encourage less cars going out there, and then, more, that the employers, if they know that they have support from the city, with a small project like this, it may seem like a lot of dollars, but I think in the long run, it will benefit the city and that area out there. Thank you.
Councilmember Reed, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mayor. So if those companies aren't ready by October 1, let's say it takes them a couple months to get their approvals, their signatory and all that's taken care of, the city is paying for the full service in that lapse time in between?
Thank you. Yeah, the city would be paying for the service, but again, part of that service is bus up, helping with the outreach and the recruitment and reaching out to businesses.
In addition to your contacts, they would also be out there promoting and trying to get
Absolutely.
people to sign?
Yep, that's part of the contract. And that would be ongoing, I want to point out too. It wouldn't be just for the next, 3 weeks to try to get things started in October. It would be ongoing in terms of outreach.
So the program overall, I love the concept. I love where it's going. I love how it's structured. I have a little concern about those timelines and whether or not, I don't know if there's any type of contingencies we can set up to not be on the, well, it's not up there now, but not be on the hook for the, I anticipate, I see a gap that there might be a gap by the time executing our contract and then being able to get the riders on board to where we'll end up having to cover that gap, which, I mean, if council's okay with that too, that's, the goal is to get it there. And I'm fully on board with that. I'm just wondering if there's a way to maneuver that a little bit more into a more matching timeline. Or I could be wrong and they could sign up in droves. It's hard to say.
All right. Jason?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to address Mr. Reed's point, I definitely hear council's concern with that. And I think we're kind of in this chicken versus the egg scenario here, right? It's hard to get big businesses in our North End and our MIC to commit to signing on to a service that they don't know is going to exist or not. So it's hard for us to get firm commitments from businesses until we actually have something to offer them and show them. So it's almost too conceptual right now to get that. So I think you are going to end up with a lag time, whether you say October 1st, November 1st, or even January 1st.
Yep. It's okay. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to speak? Come on up. Thank you, Ryan. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes to speak.
I'll wait until these get passed out, if I may.
Okay. Ooh, one more. Your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Ray Cassingham. Our address is at 817 Bonnie Avenue. You all have received an email from me on this. I have a concern over this, and so I thank you for the time and the issues to address this. The questions that I have are bus up master agreement and the questions concerning the issues with that. Number one, why is Bus Up writing the contract? The city of Sumner has an attorney to do this, and so we should be the one writing that. It seems as if Sumner has no say in this contract and Bus Up has no liability. Number two, why is Sumner providing a service for those who don't live in Sumner and don't pay taxes here? What advantages does this provide for the citizens of Sumner? Where is the shuttle to be housed for access or maintenance or protection from vandalism? And where will the money come from? The agreement as being presented on page 70, the summary background, it says the employers will pay a fare for the employees. Yet nowhere in this contract does it address the fact that employers are paying anything, which companies have signed on, and I'm hearing that none have at this point. The cost of the program being presented is for one shuttle. And I won't go past that, but for one shuttle, for all of the people coming in, either jump in or get out. You know, one shuttle ferrying 72 people isn't going to do anything. Article 1, page 71, Bus Up shall provide customer assistance. That doesn't put them on the hook for anything. In developing, managing, and administering a shuttle program, and among other services, selecting and managing bus operators. Line 2 and 3, why are we paying them when Sumner employees are going to be the one administering the services? Who is selecting the operators and responsible for that? Bus Up is very general in what they provide, but very specific in what they do not provide. Page 72, Nothing in this agreement shall be construed as obligating Bus Up to own or operate any motor vehicle equipment. They're leasing this, so they have no responsibility. Who is responsible for the maintenance of these vehicles? These are things not set up in the contract. When you go to section 1.02, Bus Up obligations, Bus Up may appoint an authorized representative in any service order. Does this mean the shuttle has a separate contact? And where's this contact located? Are they doing everything from New Jersey? Or where are they doing it from? Provide another, and on under item H, support, provides support to the program. So they're not directly involved. They're going to support Ryan in all of his hours and the things that he does. Next page, note Article 3, Section 301. Under no circumstances shall Bus Up be liable for any conduct, acts of, or omissions of any operator, provider, contractor, or their agents, employees, or subcontractors. If Bus Up's doing the hiring, why don't they have any responsibility or accountability in this?
Mr. Cassingham, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, you have the rest of it. I have a real concern over this contract. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Some good dialogue tonight. Thank you for your input, sir. Because there's so many unanswered questions that I have, and in doing some research into the contract, I'm just concerned about this, and I really feel like it needs more time for the council to talk about this. So I move to postpone action on this item and request it to be placed on a future study session agenda. And then action after that study session.
We have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilmember Hochstetter. Andrea, did you want to call the roll?
Hochstetter?
Point of order.
Oh,
Sorry. I have an opportunity, I can comment as well on that. So again, I want to state that I'm fully in support of this program, but there are still some questions that might need some cleaning up, and I do support Councilmember Stewart's motion with the caveat that, sooner is better, being able to address those and finalize them and be able to get them back to council vote, even if it's a special session following the conclusion of the study session. So whatever is the fastest way to address these concerns, at least in theory, without then having to pull it out for multiple months of subsequent meetings.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Andrea.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Newman,
No.
Potato,
No.
Stewart,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3. So we will get this scheduled and come back to it at a later date.
Mayor, I just want to
Yes.
clarify for the record, the vote was 5-2.
5-2.
5 yeses and 2 nos.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I guess it passes. Now we will vote on the Bus Up. All right.
Mayor, the motion to postpone passed, so we are done with that item. We can move on to reports.
Okay, it passed. We're moving on to reports. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report this evening.
Okay, Councilmember Cole.
Nothing to report tonight.
I wish I.
Thank you, Mayor. This might be a little bit after the fact, but school's back in session and I urge all drivers in the Sumner area and all of Pierce County to please watch out for the kids on the road. Thank you.
Yeah, so fall is here, the fair has started, so there's lots of activity over in Puyallup. And then last Monday, I attended the convocation for the school district, and it was quite exciting to see all the staff that were there. I think they have about 1,500 staff now, and there's 9,600 kids in the school district. And on Thursday, Dr. Dent presented her strategic plan, or the district's strategic plan, and their main goal is to have all the students succeed and for every student to feel like they're known instead of just, part of a mass of people. So it was very, just good to hear that they're still on their goal to have 100% graduation rate. When they started that dream, it was at 84%, and this year they had 92% that graduated. So, they're making strides and it's really encouraging. So that's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I happened to be uptown when school was dismissed today. And it's a zoo. So drive carefully.
Thank you. Councilmember Newman.
Well, in addition, you could also walk and ride your bike too, instead of being on the roads. But anyway, I just hope that everyone had a fun and safe Labor Day weekend and took a few moments to think about the workers who fought for the actual Labor Day. Anyway, thank you.
All right, and I had a great weekend handing out over 6,000 hot dogs at the old cannery. And that brings a lot of people to town, a lot of people to town. So thank you, Mr. Radcliffe. Also, the businesses downtown are a little affected on Kincaid and soon to be Cherry Street. So please still visit those businesses. They need your help. And we realize parking is affected even if you have to park a block or so away. It's worth it to visit them. Jason. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Coming up next week at your study session, we'll be starting off with presentations from our community service partner budget applicants. So this is a change from previous years. We actually went out and solicited our community service partners to see what their needs were for the budget process. It's a much more transparent way of building this budget. We look forward to hearing from them. After that, we'll get right into the budget, starting with an overview from Cassandra on the process, as well as our revenues and our financial forecast. And then we'll move into department budgets, and we'll be starting with some of our easier general fund budgets to include legislative, executive, admin services. Admin services includes municipal court, finance, human resources, risk management, diversity, equity, and inclusion, senior center, and non-departmental. Then we'll focus on community human services and the legal budget. And then we'll end that night with a discussion on the council strategic reserve fund on whether or not council wants to continue that practice of dedicating property tax revenue for that strategic reserve fund. On September 19th, we'll have a regular council meeting starting at 6, where you'll consider a purchase and sale agreement for the Nordyke property, as well as a contract for consultant services for the Town Center Heritage Park Master Plan, alley design, and wayfinding signage. Salmon Creek Culverts Consultant Services contract, appointing 2 arts commissioners, an ordinance amending the ARPA budget for utility assistance program funding, as well as a resolution creating that utility assistance payment program. An ordinance amending the budget, increasing the authorized employees in public works, and a resolution accepting a grant from the Washington State Archives. But that's not all that night. We also have a special study session because we're in budget season. So we will be talking about law enforcement, general fund police operations, as well as Metro Animal Services, and then moving into streets to talk about street operations, sidewalk programs, and upcoming street capital. We'll also be adding bus up to the 19th as well now. So plan on a long evening that night. We'll make sure that we have some snacks to keep you fueled up as we go through all these budget presentations. And then on the personnel front, this Thursday, we're excited to announce that one of our entry-level police officers, Chase Venta, will be graduating from the Basic Law Enforcement Academy. From there, he'll enter into the field training program for about the next 3 months before he is qualified to go out on solo patrol. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Meeting adjourned.